Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us tonight on Road to Space for Arianespace's 13th launch of the year. Well, in about 30 minutes, the Soyuz launcher will take off from Kourou in French Guiana with on board Galileo Foc M9, Sat 2728, the 27th and 28th satellites of the famous Galileo program, the largest constellation ever built by the European Space Agency for the European Commission. Now, this ambitious program, which aims to deliver real-time positioning accuracy down to the meter range, has been in operation since 2016 and now has 2.3 billion users worldwide. Now, in a minute, we're going to be going over to meet up with Stéphane Israel in Kourou. He's there with his teams, and he'll be going to tell us a bit more about this special mission. So, we're now looking up at the screen. We have in front, everything is, here he is. Well, hello, Stéphane. Welcome to Road to Space.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are things going over there in Kourou? It looks like it's raining.
So we are here in the, we are here in the Jupiter Control Center with all the teams, and the situation is okay. We are going now to monitor until the last minute the status of the satellite, the status of the launcher, the status of the launch basis, and also the weather. And if everything is green, we will go for launch in a few minutes.
So this is the 13th Arianespace launch of the year, right?
Correct. The 13th of the year, the 6th from the CSG. So it is a very busy year for Arianespace, and we have still 2 more launches to do.
And can you perhaps tell our audiences, our listeners tonight, a bit more about tonight's mission?
Yes, so tonight's mission is for a very important customer. It's for ESA on behalf of the European Commission and a key flagship program, Galileo. So tonight we are going to deploy 2 more Galileo satellites. It will be the 9th launch we make for the full operational capability and the 11th launch for the Galileo constellation. And this is a resuming of the launches because we had interrupted them, and now we are back with Galileo for Galileo with these 2 satellites.
Well, you must be very proud. And this is also, I think, a very special date, is it not?
Correct, because tonight we are going to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Soyuz from Guyana, and it happens to be that the first Soyuz launch from Guyana was for Galileo. So 10 years after, we are back with Soyuz for Galileo.
Thank you so much, Stéphane, and good luck to you and to all your teams tonight. I hope the flight goes well, and we'll talk a bit later. Good evening. So getting back to our 2 satellites on board tonight, they were manufactured by the European Space Agency, ESA, which unites the member states of the European Union, as well as Switzerland, Norway, and the United Kingdom. Now, Joseph Ashbasher, who took over as Director General last spring, has great ambitions for space, and in an interview we did with him, he talks about ESA's involvement in this project. And in a minute, we'll have an interview with Ashbasher, which is just coming up in 1 second.
Non, je peux essayer, mais il est obligé d'improviser un peu.
The 11th operational Galileo launch in 10 years. Galileo is a truly European partnership that positioned Europe as a leader for satellite navigation systems. With 2 new Galileo satellites launched today, we are accelerating the completion of the fleet that now already has 26 satellites in orbit, with more launches to come in the following months and years until we reach the full constellation of 38 satellites. We developed and designed the Galileo system from scratch, and our commitment to technical excellence has helped Galileo become the world's most precise satellite navigation system globally, with more than 2.3 billion users around the globe. With such a large fleet and its complex ground segment, also developed by the European Space Agency, Galileo is a truly European success and a program ESA is very proud of. All of this could not be possible without the strong partnership around the EU space program, with the European Commission owning the program, ESA carrying out the design and development of the system, and the EUSPA operating it for the benefit of European citizens and society as a whole. And I would like to here thank the European Union for the trust and strong relationship that has been built up and reinforced over the years. It is only 20 years ago that ESA introduced satellite navigation as a completely new activity in the European space sector. And it is our ambition and responsibility to maintain European leadership in the space navigation area. We are already working on the second generation of Galileo with state-of-the-art, more powerful and advanced and fully reconfigurable satellites. This will secure European satellite navigation for the future and allow Europe to remain at the forefront of technology with full autonomy in the satellite navigation sector. As ESA will bring first Europeans to the moon, and with new lunar exploration missions to come that will have a crucial navigation component, ESA and Europe are even to reach new frontiers in the next years. Enjoy this Galileo launch. Thank you.
Of course, Galileo is one of Europe's flagship programs in the space sector. The satellite provides an alternative to America's GPS, the Russians' GLONASS, or Chinese Beidou global satellite navigation systems. The European Commissioner for Space, Thierry Breton, whose objective is to project Europe into the next technological race, talked to Road to Space about this ambitious program, which will ensure the European Union's autonomy in the field of geolocation. We now have an interview of Thierry Breton, which will be coming up.
Mesdames et messieurs, aujourd'hui, nous passons une nouvelle étape dans le développement de Galileo, le système de positionnement par satellite européen. Dans quelques heures, en effet, nous mettrons sur orbite 2 nouveaux satellites, portant ainsi à 28 le nombre de satellites Galileo en orbite. Aujourd'hui encore, nous démontrons que l'Europe est une puissance spatiale. Galileo, bien que n'étant pas encore finalisé, est d'ores et déjà le meilleur système de positionnement par satellite au monde, plus précis que ses concurrents, notamment américains. C'est la preuve de l'excellence scientifique, industrielle et programmatique de l'Europe. Très concrètement, Galileo permet d'effectuer de manière autonome des missions aussi essentielles que variées. Navigation, aide au sauvetage, positionnement bien entendu, et bientôt aussi signaux cryptés pour utilisation militaire et de sécurité. Galileo est désormais à portée de main des citoyens européens, dans leur téléphone, leur tablette, leur voiture, et plus généralement tous les objets connectés. Car l'Europe spatiale est une réalité. Et nous en bénéficions tous les jours, sans du reste toujours nous rendre compte. Mais nous ne nous arrêtons pas là. L'Europe est déjà dotée d'un programme espace de plus de 16 milliards d'euros afin de rester une puissance spatiale. En particulier, nous avons accéléré la 2e génération de Galileo, qui est déjà en cours d'élaboration et qui sera un fleuron de la technologie européenne. Le programme d'observation de la Terre Copernicus, un autre pilier de notre programme spatial européen, fournit quant à lui, jour et nuit, des services et des images de très haute qualité, comme on l'a vu récemment lors des catastrophes naturelles qui nous ont frappés. Nous avons engagé une réflexion approfondie sur sa 2e génération. Nous travaillons à l'élaboration d'un nouveau projet de connectivité ultra sécurisé par satellite, permettant de fournir Internet à tout le monde en Europe et aussi d'assurer résilience et cryptage quantique des communications. Nous mettrons aussi en œuvre une approche européenne de gestion du trafic aérien, qu'on appelle le ST-M, et notamment pour assurer une surveillance autonome de l'Europe. L'espace est un secteur absolument vital pour l'économie européenne. Et c'est ensemble, avec les entrepreneurs, que nous maintiendrons notre avance technologique. Nous pouvons et nous devons être fiers de ce qui a été accompli jusqu'ici, tous ensemble et à tous les niveaux. J'ai une pensée particulière pour toutes celles et tous ceux qui, au cœur des institutions et des agences européennes, ou au sein de nos partenaires comme l'Agence spatiale européenne, USPA, Arianespace, mais aussi les autres membres de l'industrie européenne active dans le domaine spatial, coopèrent au quotidien pour réaliser, construire, bâtir des projets tels que Galileo et en faire une réalité tangible. Merci donc à tous d'œuvrer au succès du programme spatial européen.
In about 20 minutes' time, Galileo Foc M9 Sat 2728 will join the other satellites which make up the large Galileo constellation, part of the European Union's flagship program. Now, tonight, joining me in the studio, I'm very happy to welcome Raphaël Chevrier, business developer in charge of innovation topics at Arianespace, and our expert for Road to Space. Good evening, Raphaël.
Good evening, Emma.
Good to see you back with us. Well, you'll be helping us throughout this evening's proceedings to understand each step of this delicate mission, which was delayed twice in a row. So if you could, Raphaël, start by explaining the specifics of tonight's flight with the help of these motion design images that should be coming up on our screen in a little second, right now.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah.
Here we go.
So, yeah, as you see, the liftoff will mark the beginning of the atmospheric flight for Soyuz. And so you see that we are launching towards northeast tonight. So about 2 minutes after liftoff, you will see that the 4 lateral boosters will separate from the second stage, that we call also the central core. We also call it the Block A. And 4 minutes after liftoff, we'll have the fairing separation. It means that we have crossed the limit of the atmosphere and that the satellite don't need the fairing anymore to be protected from the friction of the air. About 5 minutes after liftoff, we will have the extinction, then the separation of the second stage of Soyuz, and simultaneously, third stage, which is called Block I, will be ignited to continue the mission. The extinction and separation of the third stage will happen about 9 minutes and 20 seconds after the liftoff, and it will mark somehow the end of the ascent phase for Soyuz. And from that point, the Fregat upper stage will take care of the rest of the mission for a first long burn that will last for 12 minutes. We'll then have a long coasting phase, also called ballistic phase. It's going to last exactly 3 hours and 18 minutes, with the Fregat engine turned off. And during this phase, the upper stage will follow an elliptical intermediate trajectory, and we'll have a loss of telemetry for about 21 minutes. Then the Fregat will perform the second boost in order to circularize the trajectory and to reach the orbit where the 2 Galileo satellites will be released in space a few minutes later. And from there, the Galileo will reach their final orbit by themselves using their own propulsion means. And at the end of the mission, we will proceed to the passivation of the Fregat upper stage. And this is going to be the new journey for the satellites.
Thank you, Raphaël. Tonight's mission is a delicate one and requires incredible precision. This will be the case when the 2 Galileo satellites, the 27th and 28th in the constellation, are separated. In this next report, we will explain to you how this geolocation service is already part of our lives. We're going to be learning everything we can about Galileo. This large-scale European program has been in operation since December 2016, and without necessarily being aware of it, we all make use of it on a daily basis. So as I say, in our next report, we'll be learning everything about this geolocation service, which should be coming up shortly on our screen. Today, two very special passengers will fly into space on board the Soyuz launcher, two Galileo satellites, each weighing about 700 kilos. Their destination, the medium Earth orbit at 23,222 kilometers above our heads. There, they will join the rest of the constellation of 26 satellites in service since December 2016. This program, entirely financed and owned by the European Union, is the result of a European partnership between the European Commission ESA, the European Space Agency, and EUSPA, the European Union Agency for the Space Program. Galileo is an essential tool ensuring Europe and its citizens full independence in terms of sovereignty and strategic autonomy. Every day, more than 2.3 billion devices use Galileo signals for a variety of applications. This constellation is used every day for various types of travel, on foot, by bicycle, in cars, but also in boats, trains or planes. Autonomous cars, which we will soon see on our roads, will also rely on technologies using Galileo. Rescue teams use Galileo's high-precision signals to respond to emergency situations and save lives, for example, during shipwrecks or disasters. Galileo is also used in agriculture, public works, and energy distribution infrastructures, where its signals allow for more efficient management of available resources. In a few moments, the Soyuz rocket will take off before our eyes. This 26th flight is the 11th launch of Galileo satellites. Very soon, other Soyuz missions, followed by Arianespace launches, will complete the constellation in orbit. Always looking to the future, Europe is already working on the next generation of Galileo, which will be launched on the European launches of tomorrow. The complete deployment of the first generation of Galileo will take place by 2025 thanks to the future European launcher Ariane 6. Tonight it is the Soyuz launcher that is getting ready to take off into space. Everyone is ready. Soyuz is not new to Galileo. It has already carried 14 satellites of the constellation between 2011 and 2016. Now we are waiting for the announcement in a few minutes by Joël El-Ghaghi, the Director of Operations at CNES, better known by the acronym the DDO. He is expected to make an important announcement announcing the beginning of the synchronized sequence.
Yeah, so the DDO announced that they confirmed that the launcher is fully ready for the next step.
Brilliant, that's brilliant news. So, Raphael, what does it mean when we say a synchronized sequence?
Well, it means that a few minutes before liftoff, the launch vehicle will become progressively autonomous. It means that the onboard computer will take control of the launcher in a way.
So what are the next stages before the launch?
Well, it's going to happen very fast. 6 minutes before launch, we will have the last readiness for launch confirmation from the DDO that we just heard. 1 minute later, we will unlock the launcher to allow the firing. We call it to put the key on start. From that point, Fregat is going to be transferred to onboard power supply. We will then eject the upper composite umbilical lines. We'll stop the ventilations on the launcher, and the rest of the 3 stage is going to be tilted from ground energy supply to onboard energy supply. It will mean that 28 seconds before liftoff, the launcher is going to be fully autonomous in terms of energy supply, and we can retract from there the upper and the lower mast. And you see that 16 seconds before the actual liftoff, we see the engines ignite. So you will see it on the image.
That will be
and we will increase the power before the Soyuz will actually soar into the sky.
So what is the most critical moment in this sequence?
Well, this is the ignition.
It's the ignition, of course. Yeah.
And like I said, we will basically go from 0 to full power in 16 seconds.
That's incredible.
With 3 different steps. 5% of the power, 70% of the power, and then when we reach 100% of the power, then the Soyuz is going to lift off.
So at this stage of the mission, can the weather still play a major role?
Yeah, well, the weather, we have a last forecast of the weather 10 minutes before launch. And so
Well, we can see looking up at the
basically-
screen now that it looks like it's raining in Kourou.
Yeah, but we really check the weather at high altitude. That is very important for authorizing a launch. So here you see that there is a red in the meteo.
Oh, so we've got the panel in front of us on the screen. So there's a red.
Yes, it means that
Autorisation de lancement.
the meteo.
Arrêté compte suite à la confirmation du rouge météo.
So
Tous
there
les
is.
moyens restent activés pour une mise en configuration d'arrêt de la base de lancement.
Yeah, so unfortunately there is a red tonight, so we will have to postpone the launch because we just don't have like a green light in terms of weather in order to proceed.
So I think we're waiting on Stefan Israel. Yes, Stefan
because-
Israel is, yes, we've just had confirmation. He's going to, we're just waiting for him now. He's going to come and speak to us again because obviously we wanted a green panel and there's unfortunately a red light.
It really shows you that we don't take any risk when it comes to launching, of course, in order to don't take any risk for the population, for the launcher, for the satellites, of course. And so, any wrong signal in terms of weather will stop the synchronized sequence. And in this case, as we are targeting an instant launch, because sometimes you have like a launch window when you can basically reattempt, make a reattempt
So we don't
for
have
the launch.
there's no launch window.
for
when
like
it's a case of-
45 minutes, but right
Okay.
now we have no launch window.
window at all,
It means
okay.
that we have to launch at a certain time, and if the weather is not green, then we have to wait for the next launch opportunity, which is going to be the next day, basically.
Okay. So, as I say again to our listeners, our audiences tonight, we're still waiting for Stefan Israel, who is the CEO of Arianespace, to talk to us. So, unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, basically, so what we look is, like I said, the weather at high altitude.
At high altitude, I know.
It means that it's basically if you have an anomaly during the launch, you don't want this wind to bring debris on the population. So we are extremely careful about this. This is why it's like a strong criteria. You can also, 10 minutes before the launch, you are also measuring the wind close to the surface in order to prevent from a strong wind that would prevent from launching.
So, as I'm going to say again, so the synchronized sequence has been stopped. The DDO has stopped it. We're now still waiting for Stefan Israel, who should be coming and talking to us in a second. He's just being equipped with a microphone.
So we can maybe remind that on the screen you see all these green boxes, and unfortunately
tonight we got the
red
red
ones.
The red
but
box.
you can see that if there is an issue, for example, on the satellites, the box called Galileo FOC M9,
we would have known it was there, obviously.
would turn red. If there was something wrong with the launch vehicle Soyuz, then this Lancer Soyuz would turn red, etc. and etc. If there is something wrong with the telemetry stations that for 2 nights are on the ground, and there is also one telemetry station on sea, then this telemesure would also turn red. So everything is green right now, but okay, the meteo and is unfortunately
What a pity.
red.
Anyway, so now we're looking at the teams, Stefan's teams in the Jupiter control room. He's just, as I said, he's just having a microphone. Here he is. Good evening, Stefan.
Good evening.
Can you tell us a little bit about the red light we've just seen?
Yes, so as I have said, to lift off, you need all to be green. So the launcher tonight is green, the satellite is green, the launch basis is green, but there is a weather risk linked to a risk of lightning, linked to clouds, which came not far from where the launcher will go. So in this case, you cannot launch. We have a standard procedure, so we have been informed of this risk 10 minutes ago. We have decided to put a red, so we stop for tonight. Everything is okay for the launcher and the satellite, and we will be back tomorrow for a new tentative, and I hope it will be the good one.
Well, we do too, Stefan. I very much hope to see your face again tomorrow night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'd like to thank Stefan. Well, as Stefan said, we will be coming back hopefully tomorrow, as he said, when we'll have more information. But there was lightning tonight and very strong winds. So we'll be coming off the air now, and you can, of course, follow us on all the social networks, and we'll be keeping you informed with what's happening with our Soyuz launcher and our Galileo constellation. Raphael, do you have a last word you'd like to say?
Oh, just see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Thank you, Raphael.